Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here on the Auto Wisdom YouTube channel. Enjoy this track footage of my BMW E92 328i track car. This was the first shakedown at Streets of Willow in Rosamond, California, running the clockwise configuration. Enjoy the hot lap, stay tuned for the commentary after because there's a lot to cover, and there will be a full mod list of the car at the time that this footage was recorded in the description box down below. So I hope you all enjoyed that footage of my BMW E92 328i track build. This has been a long time coming, and this footage was actually recorded back in December of 2023. So finally getting around to chopping it all up and creating this video about 6 months later, and I do apologize for the delay in that regard. But I did want to kind of overview my experience with driving this car on track, the overall platform as a whole, how did the car hold up, and how do the upgrades and mods sort of effectively enhance the driving experience of this 328i on track. Now let me start by prefacing something real quick. It's been a few years since I've been on track, a little over 2 years actually, since I went to any type of racetrack, and I had never actually ran the Streets of Willow clockwise configuration. I've ran it once at CCW in the past, so there was a lot of rust that needed to be shaken off and a lot of confidence as a driver that needed to be rebuilt. Also, I've never driven a manual car on track, so the experience of heel towing, just operating 3 pedals while on a racetrack is so different than from the street. And so, bear with me if you were cringing at some of my driving technique throughout the hot lap, but overall ran a 130.5 with the car, and the timing was done through the app known as Hot Lap. In the future, I would like to get something a little more comprehensive, maybe like an AIM Solo or a Garmin Catless, to be able to record actual data and telemetry that I can then overlay on the hot lap footage. But for now, the GoPro will do. And honestly, the car was a complete blast to drive on track. It sounds absolutely incredible with the straight pipe setup that we have for it, for track use specifically. And overall, I was really impressed with the performance, given how cheap this car is and for how cheap we got it. My biggest concern was reliability. Because this is a relatively old car, it's got about 151,000 miles on it. I wasn't sure how the engine was going to hold up. I wasn't sure how, everything was going to hold up from a cooling standpoint, from an oiling standpoint. We did make sure to add about an extra half quart or so into the sump prior to going out on track, and we have completely fresh fluids in the car, along with a number of upgrades to obviously make the car suitable for track use. But overall, throughout every single session, the car absolutely held up like a tank. No issues whatsoever, no fuel starvation, no limp mode, no misfiring, really nothing. And it was very impressive to see this engine just being, you know, beaten down on track, and the car held up phenomenally well, and it was so much fun to drive. Now, there are a few deficiencies with this 328i. Most notably is the open diff. We're not running a limited slip diff as of yet in this car, just because the factory diff you know, does not include an LSD when these cars were configured brand new. We were also running KW V1 Coilovers during this track day, which is far from ideal, especially because we picked up the car with the coilovers already installed. So truthfully, we didn't know how many miles these dampers had on them. We did have a slight feeling that they were shot, and we did end up replacing them. If you've watched the previous video of the build overview for this car, you will have noted that we've since swapped out to a brand new set of ISC N1 V2 coilovers. Keep in mind, I will also be, you know, organizing all of this 328i track car footage into one playlist that you guys can kind of watch in order, and I think you guys will enjoy it quite a bit. In addition to that, we're also running the Accelera 651 Sport Xtra, I believe, which is a decent R comp for track use if you're on a budget. It's not going to be a competitive tire by any means. It's not going to be crazy fast like if you're running a Nanking CRS or a Bridgestone RE71 RS or something like that. But I think we picked up the set of tires for like 300 bucks brand new on Black Friday. And to be honest, they held up decently well. So much better than other, you know, budget track tires like Federal RSRs. And they get a little bit greasy and have a little bit of drop off, but overall, like a very consistent and reliable tire. Peak grip isn't totally there. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not going to be competitive, but for just, you know, an initial shakedown for a track day, I was really impressed with, you know, how the car was handling and how these tires were putting up to the abuse that, you know, the 328i was throwing at it. And this is not a particularly lightweight car. Even though we've done quite a bit of weight reduction to reduce the overall curb weight of the vehicle, it's still well over 3,000 pounds. I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,100 to 3,150 pounds. Running the car on full E85 as well. It's tuned, and the power was really good for a, you know, a 328i, 230 wheel horsepower or so, maybe a little more than that. Power feels plentiful, it feels healthy, and it's a very smooth and linear power band. And with the N51 and N52 engine, you do get a decent amount of torque in the mid-range, which is impressive because it's a naturally aspirated engine. It's not like it's running any turbochargers or anything like that. And so Streets of Willow really proved to be a great testing ground just to kind of see how the car was going to hold up from an initial shakedown standpoint. Now, a 1:30.5 lap time is not fast by any means, and I fully recognize that. But for my first time being back out on track, first time being in a manual, you know, I was really happy with how the car held up. I was just happy that we got to drive it back home in one piece. Keep in mind, we didn't trailer it. We drove it straight from my house to the track and back. And so overall, it was an absolute blast, and I would definitely consider this track day to be a success. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Like I said, if you guys are curious about the full mod list, be sure to check it out in the description box down below because it will be included. Now, stay tuned for the next video, which was the shakedown at Button Willow Raceway CW13 configuration, where we did run into a few hiccups. That'll be in the next video. That'll be added to the playlist, and I think you guys will really enjoy that one as well. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe if you are new to the channel. Welcome to Auto Wisdom. We do a lot of car content, automotive reviews, track content, things of that nature. And with all that being said, I will catch you all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.